Hey everyone, DB here from Eat Sleep Cruise, and I'm on the balcony of a cruise ship, something I haven't been able to say in over a year. We're sailing on Adventurous Seas, Royal Caribbean's first ship back in service in 15 months, and we're coming to you live from that cruise and just wanted to check in. We haven't had a chance really to post too many videos or too much on social media. The internet hasn't really been cooperating with us, but hopefully we're able to get this up and give you kind of our perspective of what it's been like cruising on the ship now. We've been on board for 4 days and we've gotten to experience a sea day, we've got to experience a couple ports of call, got to experience, of course, embarkation. So we've gotten a lot of questions on other social media platforms just asking us like, what's it like on board? What are the regulations? What are the protocols? And wanted to share some of the details and just be honest with you, like what our experiences have been like over the last couple of days. You know, starting back on Saturday when we boarded the ship, you had to do some pre-cruise planning, which included filling out a health questionnaire and going through some forms, especially for arriving in the Bahamas. You had to complete a health visa, which really wasn't a difficult process. It did take a little bit of time and there was a fee involved, but you're able to do it pretty quickly. You have to show proof of vaccination or a COVID test and just basically the passport information and pay a fee, and then you get the health visa. And we flew in a day early, which thankfully we booked with Air to Sea because we had some flight delays and issues, and we could have missed the ship actually or paid an astronomical amount of money if we hadn't booked with Air to Sea. So really fortunate that our travel agent recommended that. But getting on the ship for us on Saturday was really simple actually. We had a 12 p.m. embarkation time, which meant we were basically some of the first folks on the cruise ship. We checked in at a hotel, which was a couple blocks from the pier, and that's where you had to do your COVID test and your more typical check-in, where they take your passport and go through the process like you would at any terminal in the US. And the only hiccup was it took about a half hour to get our COVID test results. Luckily, we were negative, both of us, but mine came in earlier than Heidi's, and then there was a concern that maybe there was something wrong with her test, but thankfully the staff there and everyone at the hotel and with Royal Caribbean and the health organization that was doing the testing was really helpful and supportive. So they loaded us to a shuttle and we got to the cruise pier. We left all our bags at the hotel and we got all our bags, thankfully, later that day. So unlike maybe the porters you have at a cruise port, you kind of just left them with the individuals at the hotel, and we got on board. That whole process took like 45 minutes. And for us, it was pretty smooth. We did hear later in the day there was kind of a backlog of individuals between the testing and regular check-in, but thankfully that wasn't the case for us. And then we were able to board the ship, and it kind of was a surreal moment just walking on board. You still have to wear your mask. So in the Bahamas, you have to wear your mask in public. You had to wear your mask during check-in, during the testing phase, and then we got into an elevator with another couple and kind of looked at each other and like, can we take our masks off? Like, what's going on here? And thankfully you could. So the great thing about being on a vaccinated cruise is you don't have to wear a mask. We haven't worn a mask in 4 days, which is something we haven't been able to say in a long time, especially living in Massachusetts where we've had mask mandates longer than a lot of other states. So we're on board, our masks are off. We're the first cruise, so we're able to go to our room a little bit early, kind of drop some of our gear off. Then we explored the ship. We've actually been on this ship before, so we sailed on Adventurous Seas in 2015. And the ship actually doesn't look like it's changed much. It did go through a minor amplification where they did update some of the public venues and some of the amenities, but they had a couple specialty restaurants and cleaned things up a little bit, but the ship by and large structurally looks almost exactly the same. And you did notice some differences because of the COVID health and safety protocol. So a lot of signage is around the ship reminding you to stay 6 feet apart. There's markers on the floor to help space out queues and lines when they form. Signs reminding you to socially distance in the elevator or to limit the number of parties in an elevator, things like that, which we've been to Disney World and Universal Studios, so anyone who's traveled to places like that have seen similar signs. We actually don't have any announcements reminding individuals to socially distance. So Royal Caribbean is basically living up to the cruisers to self-monitor a lot of the time, and thankfully everyone on board has been pretty respectful. Everyone's been abiding by the rules, socially distancing, following crew orders when they do ask you to do something, which is very, very, is not very unlikely. It doesn't happen very often. One changes they do have is kind of exiting the theater and entering the theater, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But besides that, this cruise is almost exactly like any other cruise, and that's one of the benefits I think of having everyone vaccinated. So the crew are vaccinated, All adults over 16 are vaccinated, and we have 1,068, I believe is the official count of passengers here, and that includes about 80-something children, I believe. So 94% of people on the ship are vaccinated. That's kind of the stats that Royal Caribbean's been giving us. So the first day, it will board the ship, didn't have any issues. We made all our My Time dining reservations pre-cruise. So on Royal Caribbean's website, all the reservations pulled over. When you board the ship, you do have to make reservations for the main theater. Now, if you sail on like a larger ship, say Oasis class ships, Quantum class ships, you know that pre-cruise you can make entertainment reservations for some of the venues like the Aqua Theater or 270 or the main theater. Here, you're not able to make reservations pre-cruise, but as soon as you board, you can check the app and it'll show all the shows. So there is one production show, Invitation to Dance, there's one ice show, and then there are 4 headliners. And there are multiple showings over several days throughout the cruise. There's some nighttime showings, matinee showings, which of course is different than your typical cruise on, say, a Voyager class ship like this. Or you typically just go to the theater, there's your early show, your late show, and you can go before dinner, after dinner, depending if you're doing early dinner or late dinner. But here there are different times you can make reservations in the app, and you actually have to make the reservations in the app to do that. The theater has a lot of spacing. They've basically skipped every row where they've reserved the whole row. You can't sit there, and then in the rows where you can sit, they have them all in pairs. So 2 people sit together, 2 reserved seats that you can't sit at, and another 2. And they do break up groups. So if you have a family of 4, you have someone sitting for 2 seats, then space of 2 seats, and then 2 seats. And they do that also in Studio B. So if you like the ice shows in Studio B, then you're going to have to also reserve those, of course, once you get on board, but then you're also going to have to do that physical distancing at the theater. And social distancing is also occurring, as you could expect, in the bars and the restaurants. The capacity there, it's not officially announced, but I wouldn't say it's half. In the theater in Studio B, for sure, it's like 25%. It's every other row is completely blocked off, and then half of a row is blocked off. In places like the pub or the Schooner Bar, the Martini Bar, it doesn't look like that's a larger percentage of seats. It seems like some seats are socially distanced and reserved, and in other seats, they maybe removed a couple of chairs. But finding seats in the theater is no problem. The shows have been dead. No one seems to be going to the show, except for the ice show. Everyone loves the ice shows. And we booked the ice show, actually got to see that on day 3. But the main theater production show and the headliners so far have just been, no one's going. And they've been fine. I would say the shows have been fine. The staff is amazing. They're doing a phenomenal job. They're very attentive. They're asking how your day is. They're eager to help with anything you need to do. So making sure to interact with the crew and provide additional service tips and gratuities when we can. They do have to wear a mask. So while cruisers on board don't have to wear a mask, the staff are wearing a mask on the ship as well as their private island. So we went to their private island 2 days in a row, Perfect Day, Coco Cay, and all the staff there had to wear a mask. And I kudos them because it's been a pretty hot couple of days, and the staff has been able to wear their masks and do everything they need to do and be healthy and safe and keep all of us here healthy and safe, which is so important, being one of the first cruises and being so scrutinized by, of course, the media and the general public. Now, children who aren't vaccinated, so those 16 under, do have to wear a mask. And while there are not many kids on board, when we do see kids, they are wearing their masks. So the families that are on board are making sure that those who are unvaccinated are following the rules and wearing their masks. So that's another good thing, that everyone seems to, again, wants us to be successful and everyone's kind of abiding by the rules. So it's been amazing to be back on a cruise ship. And we get a lot of questions about, what are things like the buffet, for example. Well, there's still a buffet. It is not self-serve anymore. They do have extra staff there who will actually serve you whatever options or selections you want from the buffet. You do need to make a reservation, which is something totally new for Royal Caribbean. You have to make a reservation in the app to go to the buffet. They do have a standby line, but in our experience, make the reservation. It's so much easier and quicker because they have to, of course, socially distance individuals who are waiting in line to get food, but also they have to socially distance the tables. And with the extra staff serving individuals, they might not have as many staff who are able to clean the tables and turn them over. So that's something totally new to Royal Caribbean that they haven't done before. Reservations in the Windjammer. Windjammer is also not open for dinner on this cruise. And again, that's just a logistical operations reason because there's only so many crew members on board. And if we have extra crew members helping maybe in the main dining room or some of the other dining venues, they actually have the windjammer closed. But that also might be because we're only sailing with roughly 1/3 capacity, actually probably a little bit less than that. Maybe with more people, they want to diverse the crowds and they'll have the buffet open later. But on this sailing, that's not necessarily the case. So a lot of questions about that. Experience on Coco Cay, we didn't have to wear a mask. Everything was open on Coco Cay, so the beaches were open, the pool was open, the water park, which is an upcharge, was open. The Coco Beach Club, which is another kind of private exclusive area that you can pay to get to, that was open. So Coco Cay was fully open and was completely dead. There was no one there. It seemed like no one there. 1,000 people on the ship, maybe half of them or 3/4 of them went on the island. So an island that can have 8,000 cruisers, multiple ships at one time, docking at, had, even if everyone on the ship went on there, had less, 1,000 people on there. So you had entire stretches of the beach to yourself. It was amazing. Something that's never going to happen again. It kind of feels spoiled. A lot of the cruisers and folks talking to, it's like, how can this compare to the experience that we're hoping to get back to when we have all the ships back in the service and the ships sailing at full capacity, which hopefully will be someday soon. But we're really fortunate to be able to get to see the island like that. We were through a water park the other day and got to ride on all the rides, all the water slides, no line. There was like a person in the wave pool when we were there. Again, that's probably never ever going to happen again, and hopefully it doesn't, because we don't want a global health crisis to happen again to impact the cruise industry like it has. Some other questions that folks have been asking about it: what is like the morale on the ship? The crew are so happy to be back here, and it's so amazing to talk to all of them and see how genuinely happy they are to be back cruising. I think they're almost as happy as we are, if not more happy to be on the ship. And everyone here is just so supportive, and we appreciate everything that the crew has to do to kind of make it safe and healthy again. And we're hoping that over time we can get back to cruising at full capacity and without some of the restrictions. But actually, you don't really feel the restrictions as a passenger. As a fully vaccinated passenger, it hasn't felt any different to us than any other cruise we've been on. So that's one of the messages we've been telling people on social media, and people have asked us and emailed us about what's going on. To feel like it doesn't feel much different. Besides making those extra reservations in the app, which are super easy, and booking things ahead of time, which we always do anyway. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, booking ahead, things like the gym, for example. I have to make an appointment at the gym in the app because there's only so many people that they can allow in the gym, and they want to sanitize the machines and the equipment there. But besides those little things, which honestly aren't a big deal, they take a few extra minutes of your time each day, everything else seems exactly the same. All the bars are open, they have plenty of live entertainment. So there's an acoustic guitar player in the pub, there's the piano player in the schooner bar, there's other nighttime events, there's karaoke and music trivia and all those type of things that they normally do. The one difference I would say with the activities is they don't have some of the other kind of similar things, such as the nighttime party. So no 70s disco party. There was no balloon drop at midnight like they have on a lot of the ships. So some of those activities where you interact with other parties or other individuals, like Battle of the Sexes, for example, I doubt that's going to happen. It usually happens a little bit later in the cruise, but doubt it's going to happen. Or the Crazy Quest, so the adult scavenger hunt game that is really popular on Royal Caribbean. Probably not going to happen, just given the activities that have occurred so far and our expectations of what the rest of the cruise is going to be like. So hopefully this is giving you a sense of what it's like to be on the first Royal Caribbean cruise. And if you have more questions or anything, leave them in the comment section below. Reach out to us. Let us know if there's other things you want to report back on from our cruise. We're going to hopefully get up at least one more video review summarizing everything we've experienced, but we wanted to provide you with our honest feedback after several days here on the cruise ship and getting to experience things and really testing things out over multiple days to see how they're working. Good news is things are working great. The cruise is as successful, hopefully, as possible. Everyone is positive and upbeat, and I think everyone's having an amazing time. We know we're having a great time. So I'm DB from Eat, Sleep, Cruise. Make sure to check us out all over social media at Eat, Sleep, Cruise. And don't forget to, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification icon. That way you get updated whenever we put out brand new travel and cruise videos.